Hi, this is Nathalie Lucie with Connected Mind. Today I am interviewing Gabriel Gonzalez. Venezuelan born, Gabriel is a coach, author, and founder of Heart and Mind Consulting, where he is helping people create a life they love. This includes having deeper, more loving relationships, experiencing greater health and well-being while building a thriving, heart-centered business that allows you to fully express yourself and have ample income to do what you love. Gabriel is a leading expert in art intelligent coaching, a path to personal development that is heart-centered, integral, result-oriented, and deeply transformational. His coaching style combines his experience and passion for personal development, spirituality, and the performance arts. He currently lives in Cape Town, South Africa, where he enjoys spending quality time with close friends, riding horses, hiking, walking along Long Beach, or working on other creative projects that help people connect with their arts. Please welcome Gabriel Gonzalez. Hi, Gabriel. Welcome on Do What You Really Love. Thank you so much to be with us today.
It is my pleasure to be here, Natalie. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. My first question for you will be, what is the path of the heart? And how is this path different from other paths?
Sure. So the way that I experience this thing that I call the path of the heart is as a transformational journey that you or anybody chooses to embark on with the intention of transforming themselves, the people around them, and the world. And it really begins by making the choice to love yourself enough to courageously go after 100% of what you believe in your mind and that you know deep in your heart is possible for your life. As you know, many of the spiritual traditions speak about the path of the heart as just the path of love, the path of compassion. Some people speak about the path of the heart as a path of courage, going towards what your heart really is longing for. So what I've done is created my own definition that I teach in my workshops and in my coaching programs, where in essence is about going for 100% of what you believe in your mind and know in your heart is possible. And along the way, you transform yourself, you become a much more loving person, and you transform the world.
Okay, I see. But what's so special about our arts?
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't know about the human heart is that it's the first organ that develops in the human fetus before anything else, before the brain, before the mouth, before anything else. First comes the heart. And not only that, but the heart also generates the largest electromagnetic field around your body. It generates actually about between 5,000 or 6,000 times more electromagnetism than the brain does. It really is a true organ of power, basically. And you can think of your heart as if you were to look at like a transistor radio. Remember those old radios that we used to have? They used to have the tuner. You can think of the heart as the tuner. The tuner is where you set the direction or the intention of where you'd like to go, and the feelings or emotions that would literally draw to yourself those people, events, circumstances. And then think of the brain as the antenna. As the mind, as the brain, as the antenna that within you that can actually then receive ideas, thoughts that will then also help you. You can tune in, but the heart is the tuning. It's the tuning fork. It's actually where the electromagnetism that will literally draw to you the event, people, circumstances towards whatever it is that you desire, including the information. That's where your capacity to do that lives. Okay, so
when we talk about frequency, it's coming from the heart. It's like the connection.
Yeah, exactly. There is a when the law of attraction, to kind of give you a reference point, when people started talking about the law of attraction, there was so much emphasis on your thoughts. Okay, like if you think it, if you believe it, it will happen. So a lot of people just started thinking really hard about what they wanted, and some people got it and some people didn't get it. Okay, so what I believe that it's not just our thoughts alone that creates that manifestation, but the power behind those thoughts that come from the emotions that we associate it. In other words, a thought alone is not important, but you have to be able to generate a feeling, which feelings again are then vibrations. Everything in the universe generates a vibration. You know, a pen, a cup, everything generates a vibration. So our emotions generate expanded fields of vibration, basically. They can actually be monitored and described in a laboratory setting, can actually be measured. And so the more loving you basically are, the more you move into emotions like love and appreciation, the bigger that the frequency and the vibration that you're generating. And so it is the emotions behind your thoughts what is most important. Okay, that's why you can say that not all thoughts we're creating equal. You know, only the thoughts that really have the energy to manifest behind them are the ones that I believe ultimately end up manifesting it. So the difference between what I teach, you know, when many other, you know, systems of reality creation or creating your lifestyle or attracting towards you what you want, is my focus is on the emotional aspect of manifestation. By first being able to train yourself to literally generate the frequency of the vibration of whatever it is that you want to see in your world before you see it manifested, you know. So to give you an example of this, you know, a lot of people say, well, when I meet my soulmate, then I'll feel loved and I'll be happy. Okay, so then you literally put your capacity to feel loved and happy on something that may or may not happen someday in the future. So what I do is work it from the inside out so that I then learn how to generate the feelings of love and appreciation from within myself, practice them, be in a state of love, and how can love not attract more love? Mm-hmm. You know, the frequency of love, the vibration of love, the vibe that I exude of love will then basically allow me to create a field around me, or not even create it, actually participate in the same way in which, you know, you tune in into the frequency of the channel. You don't create that channel. The channel is already there. So you're basically now living in a different frequency where you begin to literally attract and draw people into your life who are also matched that electromagnetic frequency, that vibrational frequency. So my emphasis is on the emotions, or I just simply call this, if you have a goal or something that you want to create or manifest in your life. Let's say you have a business and you want to let's say double up your income. So I would start by, what would that feel like inside of you? So let's work. What is the feeling? How would you feel if it were true that you just double your income? And then I would begin the process by having you learn how to tune in into those feelings and emotions, so that it is because you're excited, because you're joyful, then you then attract all these ideas and the right people, the partners, the right systems, software applications, idea for projects, and all of that then allow you to double your income. So it's not once I double my income, I'll be happy. Is because I'm so happy and so joyful and I'm so appreciative, I basically create all the conditions that then double up my income. So it's manifestation from the inside out, with the added benefit that you end up having a lot of fun along the way. You don't have to, that's why I call it a path. You know, it's about learning how to travel that path with love and appreciation and experiencing in the inner the essence of what you want before you even see it manifested.
It makes sense, because if you feel it before starting to make any action to get there,
yep,
I think, yes, it's going to be more fun to get there, because you already have the feeling. And it's not like, because usually people, I think, in my side, fear is always the first to show up.
Yes.
Fear is always there. So if I'm feeling the joy and the happiness of the goal that I want to reach, then it's going to be easier on my way to get there, to make the action and to do what it takes to achieve it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what you're really describing is what I call alignment or congruency. You know, one of these things, for example, if you're, you know, as an entrepreneur or a coach or a healer, sometimes we feel very disconnected with the actions that we have to take. Oftentimes it's because the action is very much out of alignment with how we're feeling, so there's a disconnect. Okay, but other times it's the right action. We're just simply not in alignment with it. It's like you have to get into the literally into the vibration frequency of that. Like, just to give you an example, I can't just sit down and write a blog post. I do a lot of my connection with my tribe, with my audience, through my writing. And when I'm just not in that space, it's like, even if I force myself, it's just not going to work out. So I need to begin to then look into a place of finding a place of, literally by little things I do, breathing into my heart, getting very present, connecting with the intention behind why I'm going to write this, what is the message, and then suddenly I begin to see what is the message and why it's so important to get this message out, and then getting the feeling or the knowing that I'm going to be helping a lot of people with this message, plus the message is going to become even more clear to me as I write it, then somehow I get into alignment with that, and then I just start writing, so it's about finding the inner alignment with whatever it is, that task, action, and sometimes not beating myself up when I don't find that alignment, because oftentimes it means I'm out of alignment. Like, if, for example, like, you want to do public speaking, right? And that's just not what you really enjoy doing. And so somebody tells you, no, as an entrepreneur, all entrepreneurs have to be public speakers, and which is not true. There are many entrepreneurs who run their businesses from home. They hire everybody to do all the talking and all the sales, and they're the mastermind, but you think you have to. And so you think, like, oh, I'm so out of alignment. I don't want to do this. And it's in essence, it's because you're out of alignment. That is not something that you would do. So maybe you're better off just writing, or you're better off not being in front of a large audience, but doing small webinars, type of things where you're comfortable at home. So it's about finding the inner alignment with whatever it is that you want to do, and make sure that also whatever it is that you want to be engaged in is also in alignment with you, in alignment with your path.
Okay. And do you have like a ritual that you do to go in that space?
What I do is, I believe that every goal has a heart. Okay, I call it the heart set of the goal, or the goal behind the goal. And I believe that whenever I do something or don't do something, it's because of some kind of an emotional payoff I'm going to get. Okay. So, like, I remember, like, years ago, when I first started my practice, and I was struggling financially. Almost everybody who begins a new practice has to be prepared. It's going to go through a process where it's just going to be, tight while you're figuring things out. And so what I would do is I got behind on my rent for 3 months, and every time I came in and saw my landlady, I would avoid her, because I was avoiding having to feel guilt and shame that I would have to tell her I don't have the money yet, because I love this woman. She's a good friend. So I believe that what drives our behaviors, or the things that we want, it's not so much the thing itself, but whatever it is that I believe I'm going to feel as a result of having that. Okay. So if for example, let's say what I want to is, have a relationship. I want to manifest or create a relationship, which is something I'm working on right now at this moment. And that's my goal. Okay, so then what I look at is, I ask myself, okay, what is the emotional experience that my heart is really longing to have by having this experience? Okay, so then I would write down a list of emotions, but I want to focus on the emotions. Okay, so normally emotions are 1 or 2 words. Mm-hmm. So in this case, I would work with, I want to feel the feeling of love, obviously. I want the feeling of love. I want to feel connected, and I want to feel free. Love, free, and connected. So, I could come up with more words. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, I'll draw up to like 12, 13, 15 words, but then get it down to the top 3. They have to be feeling words. They have to be words that are specifically related to feeling. Most of us know what it feels like to feel love, what it feels like to connect, feel connected, and to feel free. So then what I do, I get quiet in my heart and I breathe into my heart, and then I'll work with a word, and then I'll just say love, and then I'll evoke a memory of a time when I felt love. So I'll use my mind, which is a wonderful tool, to connect and tune my heart. Literally, I use the word as a mantra, as an instrument of my mind, to then call the memory that evokes the feeling. That's important. You have to feel the emotion. If the memory doesn't make you fuzzy in here, which is if you're working with love, then choose something else. Choose something else. It doesn't matter. Like oftentimes, I think of this puppy I used to have many, many years ago, and that does it for me. You can see immediately I started smiling when I think about my puppy Ubuntu. All right. So then I think about Ubuntu, and then once I evoke the feeling, I stay with the feeling, and I notice what love feels like. And then I notice, I observe, I breathe into the love, then I take the next word, okay, connected. And then I feel connection. And then I think, when did I last feel connected, or a time when I felt connected? And then I may bring a memory, and then I remember what connection feels like in my body. And then I'll do the same thing with the third word, freedom. So freedom. And then I imagine myself running on the beach with with the horse and my puppy following me, and how free I just felt. And then I evoke that feeling, and then now I stay with those feelings of love, connection. And now what I've done is I've shifted the energetic frequency. So now I'm no longer in a channel of feeling abandoned or lonely. Now I'm in this channel. And because I'm in this channel, we're now aligned with the emotions of love, appreciation, connection, freedom. From this place, thoughts, ideas, inspired actions that are aligned with that begin to come to me. So then I might just feel inspired to call somebody, to start writing, to pick up a certain book, to go somewhere. It doesn't matter. But what I'm doing is I'm using literally my mind as an instrument in service of the heart, so that I can generate the feelings of the heart that are behind the goal. Is that helpful as a ritual?
It makes sense, and it helps me to know how to make it happen. I know how to connect, and I like the way that you said that the mind, you can use your mind as a tool to bring this emotions, because
Yes.
you go into your memories and you can have this feeling again.
Yeah.
Makes sense, yes.
Yeah.
But why sometimes is it so hard for people to access the wisdom of their heart? How sometimes, now you explain us how to do that, but even with that, sometimes it's hard to bring those feelings. You want, and you said, I'm here, I'm meditating, or I'm doing what you just did, but still, it's hard to have these feelings.
Yeah, well, in my experiences, the answer to that is really, there are many, okay, but the main reasons is, one is because we have not really been taught to. Or actually, that's not true. We were born naturally, because if you observe a 3-5-year-old, that's what they do constantly, okay? The thing is that we have been conditioned out of it, as part of our process of domestication. And so we have been also grown in a society where we were encouraged to academics and rational thinking, and to just really follow other people's ideas, thoughts, and beliefs about our lives, how we should live them. So basically, we have become in so many ways prisoners of our mind, okay? Now, that's one aspect, The other aspect is that we also have 3 main intelligences operating in our bodies, or 3 centers of intelligences that throughout different traditions, religions, and philosophies have been spoken about, which are literally your heart, your head, and your gut. And coincidentally, those are 3 areas where you will find the largest number of neural cells, congregation of neural cells. Obviously, primarily the majority are in the brain, next followed by all the ones in the gut, and then the heart. The heart contains a group of neural cells that are all come together that is referred to as the heart's brain. As scientific research has shown that it can actually think independent from the brain. It can generate its own thoughts. Okay. So what oftentimes happens is that we're receiving information from 3 different centers. Okay. And a lot of people confuse because we've not really been taught to recognize where this input information or emotions are coming from. Okay, so sometimes we're really connected with our instinct for survival, which is, it resides in our, you know, in our gut, basically, right? The gut, I love the ancient Tao tradition, because the Taoists believe that the heart was the emperor, the head was the ruler, was the king, and then the gut was the samurai. Samurais who went to battle. He's the one that fought and cut heads, and, you know, so when you say I didn't have the guts to do it, it's all about the doing. Okay. And so here it's all about the thinking and the rules, you know, rational. That's why that's why the kings rule. The emperor is the nobility, right? This is where the higher feelings of love come from. So what you have is, you know, sometimes you think you're listening to your heart, but what you're really listening into is preconceived ideas of what you think the heart is, what love is. Okay, or sometimes you think, oh no, my gut didn't say this, but you think it's your heart, but it's really your gut. So oftentimes we're not really taught to differentiate, you know, where this information is coming from. And the only way I can say to that is that the only way to do this is by developing the awareness of being able to know where these conversations are coming from within yourself by interacting with them. Mm-hmm. But literally asking, is this really coming from my heart, or is this my head, or my brain this rational aspect of me? Or is it really coming from a place of preservation? So that's another aspect of it. And the last aspect is that I believe that the heart, there's a wonderful metaphor that explains how the heart works, okay? This helped me understand something that kept me stuck for a very long time. And is that the heart has, in essence, 3 layers, okay? The heart has an outer layer that I call the superficial heart, or the layer of superficial emotions. What are these? Well, these are the emotions that come from your thinking. Okay, so if you think that, you know, you're walking down the street and you see something that looks like a snake, and you think it's a snake, you go, oh my God, you know, so you respond, but it's because you thought that was a snake. Okay, or you thought your girlfriend was cheating on you because of the way she looked at you, or you thought she was interested in somebody else because she was looking at him. So, you know, so then you generated all these thoughts that, sure, they're conditioned from your wounding from the past, and, you know, so what ends up happening is those emotions are coming from the thought that you're having. Oh, she's cheating on me. Oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, she's looking at me kind of funny. Or this client didn't call me back. You know, he must not be interested, and I'm angry. You know, so all these emotions are not really coming from the heart. They are what I call, they are the feeling of your thinking. So as you have these thoughts, you have feelings, you know, but they're not really the heart. That's why I call them superficial. In fact, in my experience, these are the emotions that create heart attacks. You know, I literally believe that the heart attack is a heart attack. Heart attack is an attack on your thinking, on your heart. Okay. It's like the heart has to work so hard to be able to stabilize your body, because all these stress, all this emotion, all these thoughts and beliefs that you're having and fears about the future, that you're literally like, the heart just gives up. It basically collapses. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's a superficial layer. Then you have a next layer that I define it as a heart wall, which is a wall that is protecting what I believe is the 3rd layer, or the inner core of the heart. Some people call this your spiritual heart, but this is the center of your unconditional love. That's the spiritual heart. It's that aspect of you that is vulnerable, but its strength lives in its own vulnerability. You know, it's vulnerable, where that allows you to feel the biggest heartbreak, yet it can love it, and it can transmute it, and then it can transform, and it can heal everything because of its capacity to love. The thing is that not all of us have access to this aspect of ourselves, because, as I just said, there's that middle layer that it's a wall. And it's the same layer that Dr. What's his name, who wrote the Emotion Code? Bradley Nielsen, Dr. Bradley Nielsen, who wrote the book, The Emotion Code, refers to. He calls it the heart wall. It's the accumulation of all those feelings that you have not given yourself permission to feel. Yeah, it's very similar to what Eckhart Tolle refers to as the pain body. All the emotions, feelings you have not given yourself permission to feel, and all the women or all the men in your family, you know, people in society, because it literally is generated by the unconscious mind as a protective mechanism to literally keep you alive and keep you functioning. So the heart wall is not a bad thing. It's been a compensation mechanism because literally your unconscious mind believes that if you give yourself permission to feel all of that pain, you would die. So it will protect you. You know, he says, well, Gabriel has had so much suffering. He was abandoned when he was 5 years old, and then his parents get divorced, and we just kind of, and he's being so hurt, he's being so abused, and I need to keep Gabriel, you know, from feeling so vulnerable and all this pain, so we're going to protect it. You know, so that's what creates that heart wall. So then the journey, then, you know, the path of the heart, you know, when I refer to this thing that I call the path of the heart, I teach that as a path of vulnerability, of surrender, and courage. You know, because it begins by me having the vulnerability to begin to feel my pain, my grief, all these emotions that oftentimes I intellectualize and run away, you know, run away from, you know, and then as I feel them, I surrender them into that inner core of the heart, where all of those emotions, rather than being made wrong or demonized or trying to analyze where they're coming from, they can just simply be loved and accepted. And then as you begin to surrender them, then you begin to grow in courage, which is the capacity to act in spite of fear, in spite of pain, you know, to still allow yourself to go live life and know that all these emotions, they were never really, they were nothing to run away from or be too scared from. They were just simply part of being human, part of being alive in this world, and part of experiencing life. That, you know, we have emotions, plants have emotions, animals have emotions, the planet has emotions. You know, every time there's a volcano eruption, that's the planet feeling its anger, you know, which is actually creative energy. So I know I've been speaking a long time, as you can tell, I'm quite passionate, you know.
Yes, you are.
But the answer to your question is, it lies somewhere in these three different responses I've just given you.
Okay. And how, I love the way you describe it, and it makes so much sense. And I think it's the first time I hear this definition of the three layer of the heart. I love that. And so I think I understand some of, you were speaking and I was understanding some of my past, you know, how I act. And, but I would like to know a little bit more about going through that wall, you know, that second layer, I think is the most difficult to go through. So you said we have to surrender and accept the feelings that we have to be able to go through that layers and go to the center of our heart. But it's easy to be said, but it's just like meditating about that feeling. Is just about what exercise, what action do you do to be able to go through that layer?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I wish I could just tell you, you know, like a computer program, you know, like download this app and this will do it, you know. And
it sounds like that, my question. I'm sorry.
But here's the thing, you know, Dr. Bradley Nielsen, he uses kinesiology and magnets to literally remove the heart wall from people, you know. And I'm not trained in his methodology, but one thing I know from experience and people who have trained with him is that you can have that like wall around your heart, and you can have somebody literally using EFT, kinesiology, you know, some healing modalities, come remove it. But if you have not really healed the person and the belief systems, you know, in that unconscious mind that created the wall to begin with, then the wall's going to come back. So you may feel for a few days like you're open and loving and accepting, and next thing you know, you go back to your family for Christmas, and you know, the heart is there again. But here's what I do know, is that, and this is, for me, this is the key, okay? That center, that core of your heart calibrates very high. Think of it as if you were using a kinesiology, like Hawkins scale of consciousness, it calibrates at about 540, okay, out of, you know, in the logarithm scale between 0 and 1,000, okay, so it calibrates very high. So what needs to happen is, on the one hand, you could begin to hang out, spend time with people or tools that calibrate at that level. Okay, it's one of the things that, for example, happens at AA meetings. Okay, you know, people go in there very closed hearts, but then the moment they walk into the meetings, there is an atmosphere of unconditional love, which calibrates, according to Hawkins, this medical doctor that created the scale, at that energy. And so it is in there when people feel non-judged, where they can feel love. That's where they can open their hearts and suddenly, wow, give themselves permission to feel all the anger. And as one person opens their heart and pours out their feelings, then he gives another person permission, which is why they say, just by being in an AA meeting, you will heal, even if you never speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are in the experience of feel, where that, you know, what happens is the feel is vibrating at the level of the core of the heart. So you can use chanting. You can use chanting Sanskrit mantras, okay? Medicine Buddha, the Heart Sutra. You can work with a lot of chanting, will literally resonate at that level of the energy of the heart. And you can feel that from the inside out, that as the more you connect with the inner core of your heart, the more that wall begins to come down. And you will literally feel like your chest hurts. You know, people, when we started doing work around heart center meditation, they'll tell me, Gabriel, my chest just hurts. What you're starting to feel is like, as you access that vibrational, unconditional, loving layer of your heart, it's like everything that has been there stagnant is now moving into the heart. And the reason you're feeling pain is because now that love is beginning to dissolve it and to heal it, okay? So you can use music. Music is wonderful because obviously music is vibration, especially music that calibrates at that level. You could use by being in the presence of a group or a guru or a teacher that calibrates at that level. You know, many people experience that when they're in front of a person that's unconditional loving. Literally, that helps them break that wall. You know, and they just experience higher states of ecstasy. Or if you don't do it on the inside by literally doing the work, you know, which involves the music, the mantra, the chanting, or going to these groups where you can connect and access that more, or even the heart center meditation that I just spoke does that. Evoking the feelings of love that I just kind of briefly shared with you does that. You know, the other thing that happens is we are designed to eventually open our hearts, you know, because that is to live with a closed heart is not sustainable. It requires a tremendous amount of energy, and it's actually keep the body out of balance. And so what will happen is life will do what it does, and through pain, sometimes it's losing your job, getting sick, being, you know, somebody ending a relationship, getting divorced, you know, so many things, literally will crack your heart open. So it's a painful way of going about it, but that's another way in which it actually works. So I kind of tell my friends and my clients, I say, you have two choices. You know, you could either start doing the inner work and start dissolving it, you know, on your own consciously by doing the work, or you can wait until life comes in with a proverbial 2x4 and like hits and cracks your heart right open, just so that the love, the light can get in. And then when people then go through experiences like that, then that's when they tell you, wow, this divorce is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I found myself, or, you know, I'm so glad this ended up happening. It was painful at the very beginning, but I become a more loving person, and so forth. And that's, in essence, that's what's happened. You know, their heart has been cracked open, and that experience gave them the opportunity to feel all the grief, you know, that they had not felt. Like, just to give you an example, I recently lost my sister to cancer. And my grieving process, I realized I wasn't just crying because she died. I was crying because this past 7 years since I moved to South Africa, we grew apart. So I was also grieving that past 7 years we grew apart, you know, and I started grieving things that happened when we were children that I didn't give myself permission to feel, you know. And so it's this thing that came and hit me, because obviously I wasn't expecting her death, not so soon. It's allowed me to heal things that went beyond just her death. It's so many things that had been accumulated there that I did not give myself permission to feel for a very long time.
Yes, but this event that happened in your life just bring you through your center of the heart. Like, okay, so
And so,
I understand.
so what I think it's important for anybody that's listening to this is that the heart is way more than just an organ. You know, I like to tell people that the heart is a metaphor. You know, it's a metaphor. We use the heart to symbolize love, but it's a metaphor. The heart is also a mystery. You know, science still doesn't know what makes the heart beat or why the heart beats the first time. They don't know. And finally, the heart is a miracle. Yeah, because when people begin to connect with not just with their love, but all the wisdom that becomes accessible through your heart, which our ancestral traditions believe that was your communication center with God, with spirit, with your soul, with the divine, with the archangels. The heart being that place where you connect. You know, what I do know is that when people begin to live in connection and following that guidance, miracles begin to happen in their life. You know, relationships where there was appeared like you were just gonna get divorced, it wasn't gonna work out, boom. You know, suddenly the relationship works. Or if you had a business that was about to collapse, it was in that moment when you saw the big realization, and then you get the next idea, you know, or you got the extra bit of strength to do what you had not tried, or, you know, or it's when you finally release and surrender, then the miracles began to happen. So I've seen it over and over again, not just in my life, but in the lives of pretty much everyone I work with.
Yes, that's so nice. I understand it more clearly than ever, I think. Thank you so much for that. And I think for an entrepreneur, it's, yes, we have a business. We start a business because we want to share our talent or whatever we do with people in the world. So the business is the way to share this with people. Yeah. But the true thing is that we want to give, we want to share, we want to give with somebody else. So I think we're going to be more prosperous if we go make that work into the center of our heart, where's the where we want to give, where we want to take this talent, this gift that we have, and we want to share it. If we make that work to go through the center of our heart and feel it very well, I think, like you said, something better and bigger is going to happen to us, right?
Yep, I completely agree.
Very good. Okay. Just maybe last couple of words for closing that interview. I would like to know a little bit about how did you start your business? How did you decide it? How did you make that step to start your business? And if you had one single piece of advice for our viewers today, what it will be if they want to start their passion-based business?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that I never in a million years thought I ever thought I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I came here to South Africa 8 years ago as a filmmaker, as a producer. And then through the circumstances that happened in my life, that cracked my heart right open. I realized that I had been neglecting this calling that I had, literally, to develop this minister or this purpose of supporting other people for a very long time. So my journey began as a volunteer. I left my corporate world and the corporate world of Hollywood and all of that, and came here to work for an NGO for 3 years. And it was during those 3 years where my focus was just on giving to people and supporting people, where I realized I had a gift. And at the end of those 3 years, when the internship came up, or the volunteer program came to an end, I was faced with a decision. Well, what do I do now? And I just knew that I'm not going to go back to filmmaking. I want to now make a business out of this and create a vehicle. And so it was at that moment then when I had an insight to literally go into professional coaching. And so I registered a company called Heart and Mind Consulting, and then began to up-level my skills, and by studying coaching, and then I started coaching first part-time. I used to do websites for people on on the side to be able to to pay my rent, because at the beginning, especially the first 2 years, I was not able to generate enough income from coaching to be able to maintain myself. But when was that? 4 years ago, I made a decision to go professional and not do anything else other than coaching, and that was probably the best decision I could have ever made. So, it wasn't, in many ways, it really wasn't a decision. It was like my path began to show me by first being a volunteer, then creating this space where there was a possibility. Then I went into coaching. Then I still kept doing something else as I was slowly testing the waters of coaching, until the time came where I literally took the plunge and I decided I'm not going to do this part-time. I'm going to go into it, 100%, which is my advice to anybody that is thinking about any kind of a business, which is, it's actually, I'm going to give you two advices. One for somebody who's thinking about taking the plunge and starting their own business, and one for somebody who's just recently started one, because I think these are the two things that have made the biggest difference. Okay. So if you have not started yet and you're thinking about starting a business, a practice, so forth, my advice to you is that unless you're willing to commit to a minimum of 5 years to building this practice, this ministry, this new business, this enterprise, unless you're willing to commit time, energy, and possibly money and resources for the next 5 years, if your answer to that is no, then don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it. Unless you're saying, yeah, I'm willing to go a minimum of 5 years to devote myself to this, to put in the hours, don't do it. So that's my first piece of advice if you haven't taken the plunge. And if you've taken the plunge, the next piece of advice is be sure that if once you made a decision about starting a business, that you're clear on what I call the 4 P's of a conscious business. Number 1, what is your purpose? What is the purpose of this business, of this practice? Number 2, who are the people that you're going to be serving? Who are they? Inwardly and outwardly. Number 3, what are the problems? The 3rd P, the problems. What are the problems these people have that you're going to help them with the 4th P, which is your product. Okay, so you have purpose that is being used in service of people, a particular group of people, of individuals, right, who have a particular problem or a group of problem, that your product that's in line with your solution is going to help them solve. Once you have these 4 pillars in your business is going to thrive, and your business is going to make a big impact in the world. Okay, many people just start with a purpose. It's like, oh, I want to do something that make a difference. Okay, and then they create a product, but they don't know who the people and the problems are, and so nobody buys, and so they're wondering, I just want to help, I want to serve, but nobody's buying. It's like, well, you've forgotten about the people and the problem. Some people start solving problems for people, but it's completely disconnected from who they are and the purpose, and so they can't bring themselves to build those businesses either. So you want to have a business that, well, your whole heart is completely immersed. So think of these 4 P's as the 2 atriums and ventricles of your heart, okay, or the 4 legs of a table. That's my long ass advice. And I'm sorry I took extra time, but as you can see, I want as much value as possible to your audience.
That was great advice. Thank you so much. And it's well explained, because with these 4 pillars, I think it makes so much sense. And sometimes you're right, we just don't think about it. We're just excited by the thing that we want to change the world. We want to do something for the world. And if we're not quite well prepared, like you said, it might not end up the way that we'd like to. So I think it's great advice. And thank you so much to have took the time to say it to our viewers today. Thank you. And just at the end of the interview, I would like, because I know you have a free gift for our viewers today, I would just like you to explain a little bit what it is and how people can grab it.
Sure. So if you're new to the Path of the Heart and you like to learn more about how you can start connecting more with your heart, listening to your heart, so that you can ultimately then follow the path that your heart has laid out for you, that you're really longing to experience in this life, The Path of Transformation, then I have a 2-week course that you can sign up for free. It's an audio course, has also some videos, and you can access it free of charge at appliedheartintelligence.com. appliedheartintelligence.com. You go there, you pretty much become a member, and then I'll start sending you the lessons right away, and you can just listen to them in your own time.
Good. Thank you so much for your generosity. Gabriel, it was a pleasure to have you with me today with this interview, and for all our viewers, I am sure they learned something as much as I did. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I wish you a lot of fun and a lot of joy as you continue on the journey of creating this wonderful summit. And then again, I also want to thank you for following your heart, and then also creating so much value by going out of your way to creating all these series of interviews, all for the purpose of helping the people that you know in your heart you came here to help. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And for all our viewers today, this is Nathalie Lucie with Connected Mind, and keep an eye on your inbox because tomorrow there's more interview for you. And thank you so much for being on Do What You Really Love.